In this video, we're going to take a look at this bottle of Ardbeg Provenance, which was released in 1997 to commemorate the rebirth of the distillery, having been taken over by Glenmorangie PLC. So here it is, it's a fantastic bottle of Ardbeg Provenance. So let's get it out of the box. So first of all, the box is a beautiful, well-made oak cabinet box, you would call it. So once you open the box inside, you get your piece of tartan. You of course get the bottle. You get your limited edition certificate, and there's also a piece of ribbon in there as well. So there's the box. We'll put that out of the way though now, just so that we've got more space to look at the bottle. So starting with the bottle itself, it sounds daft, but it's a very heavy, very good quality bottle. It's quite unusual in terms of it's got a big dimple in the bottle. You don't normally find dimpled bases on bottles of whiskey, and it's also quite a substantial bottle as well. Sounds daft, but it's quite tactile. You need to sort of have this in your hands to appreciate it. So at the top, we've got a wax seal over the cork and the stopper there. Now this wax seal at the moment is under parafilm. Most of our bottles are always under parafilm. It just protects them and helps prevent any evaporation from the bottles. But also in this case, these wax seals, especially on the second edition, really prone to sort of cracking, and temperature fluctuations causes this to crack. So on this one, unfortunately, there are some cracks, but it is very common on all and pretty much most second edition Ardbegs, which this one is, you will find that cracking on the wax capsule. So the label itself, it just says Ardbeg Provenance, very old single malt Scotch whisky. So note there's no age declaration on there, just that it's very old. Which is interesting because when you get further down to the bottom part of the label, you've got some handwritten details that say year of distillation, and it's 1974. Now there are 4 editions of Ardbeg Provenance, and I'll explain the differences between the two shortly, but all 4 of the editions were bottled from the same vintage, so it's all the same vintage stocks. It's all 1974. It's also all bottled at natural cask strength. And in the case of this second edition, it's 54.7%. On the right-hand side, on the left-hand side of the label as well, you've got the limited edition bottle number, which is also handwritten, as is the date here, and you also get a wax stamp. Now, the second edition was released for the US market, which is why it's 750 millilitres. The European edition is 700 millilitres, I believe, and you've also got this wax seal on the bottom left of the label as well. So with regards to the editions, there are 4 known editions that I'm aware of. The first one was released in 1997 at 55.6% and was for the European market. The second edition, which this one is, was bottled in 1998 at 54.7% and was for the USA market. And then there were 2 different bottlings in the year 2000. One at 55% for Asia and one at 55% for the USA. Now, all of them will have slightly different back labels. So because this one's the American export edition, this has got the US government warnings, but the Asian market and the European market ones have different back labels too. So moving on to the certificate, they all come with this fantastic looking certificate. And here we go. It goes into state a bit about the distillery history, and it says that to commemorate the rebirth of the Ardbeg distillery, we have produced a very special limited edition bottling. We have hand selected some of our finest casks from the 1974 vintage and bottled them at their natural cask strength. So it gives you a bit of information about the casks. Again, it doesn't say the age statement on here, but we know that the quality of the whiskey is extremely high. On Whiskey Fun, I think Angus reviewed the first edition or the first release of this and gave it 95 points, and I think he summarised it as a landmark bottling. Now, there's not much other information on this certificate other than the date of the bottling, the 9th of April 1998, and the edition number, which is also handwritten actually, so a lot of time and energy went into doing this. And there's an interesting little anecdote here down at the bottom, which states, it said that John Campbell of Ardmore, a relative of the local laird, had for many years served as chamberlain to the Duke of Argyll. When he died in 1860, his body was returned to Islay, and it arrived in Port Ellen, and it was carried in relays to the cemetery. Now it goes on to say that by the time they'd passed the third distillery on the route, and of course they were stopping for refreshments, by the time they got to the cemetery, they'd lost the coffin, so they had to go back down the road to the coffin, pick it up and bring it back. So I think they were quite well inebriated Scots. But always check when you're buying a bottle of this that the edition number on the certificate matches up with the edition number on the bottle. So there we have it, a second edition bottling of Ardbeg Provenance. We've got this available on our shop now for £3,250, and that's with immediate worldwide shipping as well. And if you're a lover of Ardbeg and you want to learn more about the history of Ardbeg, make sure you head over to our blog, where we've just published quite a comprehensive history of the distillery, together with quite a helpful timeline so you can see when the distillery was opening and closing, when the maltings closed, etc.